So what are you going to talk about today? Hey! Hello and welcome to Start Your Dungeon. I'm Bryce.
I'm Adam.
I'm Robert.
And today we have brought Robert in because we're here to talk about a super exciting product that all three of us really like. The Call of Cthulhu starter set for 7th edition. So we're going to go through our normal one. We've invited Rob on this time because he has a lot more experience, at least than myself, when it comes to playing the Call of Cthulhu game. So we're going to go through and do our normal questions, and I'll kind of take hold of asking the questions for each of them. So first question to both of you, again, it's a core box, a starter set. So what all comes in the box?
So it has an excellent introductory adventure that is, I don't want to use the phrase for the company that makes adventures that you can choose your own path, but it's very similar to that, where you are playing through a scenario, and it comes with a full set of dice. So got your grays and your blue.
Comes with 2 sets of D100s.
Yeah.
Like, that was weird to me. I actually was rolling them playing this and then went, oh, that's a D10 and those are 2 D100s.
Yeah.
Like,
It's got a book of the rules, and it's got character sheets, color with the character, which I thought was unusual, and some blank character sheets for your own characters and handouts. So it's got lots of stuff.
yeah, no, it's a really cool one. In terms of the starter set itself, how easy is it to get into the actual game of Call of Cthulhu with that starter set?
Can I take it?
Yeah.
The great thing about this particular set is that it does have Alone Against the Flames, which is an intro to both the rule set, the tone and the mythology behind Call of Cthulhu and Lovecraft stories, and sort of eases you into this process of role-playing. So if you're coming fresh off the boat with no experience doing any sort of role-playing whatsoever, it's really as easy as just opening up that first page and letting them walk you through it, which I thought was really helpful. You can kind of see the intro rule set in there is maybe, 24 pages, I think?
It's not long.
By comparison, this is the book set for the game, and it's thick and dense. So if I had to kind of tackle this at once by myself with a new player, especially someone brand new to role-playing, that would be very daunting. This is a great step in.
That's what I liked. So I went through and played it. I played Call of Cthulhu once before this, but I've said I'm going to try the Alone Against the Flames one and just see how it goes. And it was super cool because instead of it just taking a pre-gen, it said, let's build you a character. Let's go through, who are you? What's your name? All this. And it really jumps you through that. And then it's like, well, now you got to make a check. Here's how you make checks. And it does have the rule book, but it actually just kind of takes you through it and this whole adventure. And what I love is it gives you the chance to do kind of whatever you want, which is pretty impressive for it being like, this is a pathwayed adventure, but I can choose, oh, I'm in this town, here's 6 different things you can do. After you do 4, you need to move on, but you can pick and choose kind of what you want to do. It's really a cool thing.
If you're an experienced player, I guarantee you've played games where DMs have railroaded you through a stricter adventure path and what's contained in that.
Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the overall rule set for the game. And things kind of like, we always talk about things we do like and things we don't like kind of about this one. For this starter set, what are some things we like about the Call of Cthulhu system? Because it is a little bit different from a lot of your normal D20 system.
For me, I like the fact that you feel like no matter what, you can still try to do something. You're probably not going to succeed on a lot of things because this is a very grim and gritty horror game. So you're probably going to fail on some stuff, but that's okay. It's not like you're supposed to be a superhero or anything.
Right.
So for me, I think the horror aspect of the theme provides a structure for me to just go ahead and try something so that my character doesn't die.
This rule set is a line drive straight down the middle. So it's that D100 based roll. You've got a skill, you've got a percentage. It's over under. It's tests based on difficulty. Full, half, fifth. I think fifth values is the hardest it gets.
Yeah.
And it's really as simple as that. If you've done any basic role playing whatsoever, you already know how to play.
Yeah. I think that's one of the I really like about it is the D100 system. I think is not used in a lot of games. I think Call of Cthulhu is one of them. There's a couple ones that are done for like the Warhammer ones specifically, like the Fantasy and 40K ones that do that same sort of system. But I do agree with you both kind of about it. It is this check system, but you never feel like you're out sometimes. Like even if you're like, I got a 20% chance to climb, it's a 1 in 5 chance of still making it. And I really enjoy that. Like the other thing that I think really speaks a lot about this system is you can build your character however you want. Really, it really is a very kind of diverse amount of systems. I mean, when I built my character for the starter thing, I was just like a basic professor. I had no strength, no con, but I was super intelligent. So it made my character very interesting to play. And I think there's a lot of game systems that you play don't get to let you do that. You very much like, I always bring up 5th edition, but you feel like sometimes heroes in that system, and you don't feel like even if you fail, you still feel like, oh, I'm still tough. This can very much, if you're like, you roll some bad rolls and you're just dead.
Yeah.
Like it is.
But then you just make a new character.
Right.
Because I have been, like, I've had my character killed many times in Call of Cthulhu, and then I just make a new character, and it's just, you just keep going.
What about things you guys don't like? Is there anything you don't like about the system?
Honestly, no. I mean, I don't think that there's anything inherently negative about the system. There are certainly easier systems out there to learn, but I feel like with this starter set, it takes something, like you said, like you've got these massive tomes here. It takes something that might be a little more daunting, and it puts it in a pretty easy package. Yeah. So, honestly, I don't have anything really negative to say about it. And, plus, this game has been around a long time. They've had a long time to work out the bugs.
Yeah, right.
And it hasn't changed a lot in the, like close to,
40 years.
4 decades that it's been out,
Right.
So there's nothing that's really bad. They've worked out the any of the problem spots.
Yeah.
I would say there are kind of 3 caveats I would throw out to people, especially new GMs or keepers. But we're going to hit those in other sections later on. So.
Yeah. I think that's what I was going to move into about getting into it. We talk about how easy is a starter box to get into from a player and DM. From a player side, I think it's pretty easy because it has the pre-gen, but also if you do the Alone Against the Flames, you build a character and you're ready to go to play for any other. If you survive, that is, if you survive.
I did.
I didn't. Yeah, like it takes a bit, but I think it's really pretty easy to get into. But I think the one that I'm more interested in is from a DM side, because you guys have been a keeper. Yeah, that's what they call it in this. What for the keeper side? How easy it is to run that starter set?
I mean, I think you could, especially if you were to take, I can't remember the name of the adventure, but there was a really early starter adventure that was in a haunted house.
Deadlight, maybe.
Maybe, but you could find it for free online, and if you printed that off, packed it in here, all you would need is to just grab this with your free adventure and go. It's there are some free things out there that you could get, and I think to be a keeper and run it, I don't think it's that hard.
Okay. Yeah, those intro solo adventures teach you the keeper rules as well. Yeah. I think there are a couple of hard challenges. If you've never played a game that is mystery based, if you've never run a game that is 90% social interactions, investigation, and kind of slow, careful player choices, with a lot of heavy role playing and maintaining that tension and that atmosphere. I think that's a challenge. That's going to be a challenge. Any GM tackling anything that's not a hero bash 'em up game.
Yeah.
And I think really the thing that's great about this one is there's actually 3 adventures in this, and they all follow a storyline that you can actually continue with, and they're actually built to grow in player size if you want to, which I think is a really cool thing with it as well. Talking about overall the game itself in that box, is the box a complete game? Like, can you use that box to play the game indefinitely?
What do you think?
Definitely no. I mean, you can. You're going to end up in a position where you're either fudging. I think if you go on Drive Thru RPG or something, find some other adventures or make up your own, and flesh out what comes in these books, which is mostly items, atmosphere, some character options, magic, and monsters and creatures and whatnot. If you can do that on your own, if you're a good, or experienced GM that way, this is going to leave you a little bit short on the madness and insanity rules. And madness and insanity in this book is like 40 pages. Well, it's probably an exaggeration, but
it's long.
It's tricky and complicated to get your brain around. So if you want the full experience, I think of that, you've got to kind of upgrade. But you can get a lot of that.
What I will say, and this has been my experience on 3 occasions, is I've run like not necessarily this one, but a starter version of Call of Cthulhu with lots of new players where they had no role playing experience, and it was a really big hit. With people who don't really have any experience doing any of that stuff, it's important for the keeper to explain what the player's job is. And you can just tell them, just pretend that you're in a horror movie. Right. Just pretend you're, a character in a horror movie, and then, we're going to act it out.
It's just every day.
Yeah. I think what's actually cool about Call of Cthulhu, and to talk about for people who are newer getting into it, like, you're human. You're not an elf warrior. You're not this godlike character running through. Like, you are a human person.
You're like a grocery store clerk or a shoe salesman or a mechanic,
So I think it helps to teach people that way, because you have this ability to, again, like in some of those games where you're playing again where there's more fantasy element, and there is of course the horror, like dark god stuff in this and magic, but it still feels like normal situations where when you're involved in this game, you're like, well, I have options, but what would I do as a person in this situation? It feels a little bit easier than being like, I'm surrounded by goblins, what would I do? Like, you just, it's very easy to be like, I'm dealing with something a little bit weird that's not normal life, but it still feels set in a world that I understand, which I think is really great. You have something you wanted to add?
I didn't. I lost my train of thought. Snip that out. I will say, so I do think one of the buy-ins that might be a little bit difficult for new players or people coming from more traditional hero games is that death spiral that's sort of baked into the characters. So you're never going to be capable enough to solve all the problems effectively. You're always making choices between character safety, plot outcome, whatever, and risk and danger. And then madness, right? So every time you encounter something weird and squicky, your characters are gonna go a little wonky. And as that happens, it actually becomes harder and harder and harder to make those saves. So one of the things that Ken Hite talks about a lot on the podcast is that inherent death spiral. Great GMs can make that sing like a symphony.
So was it Ken and Robin talk about stuff?
Right.
Put that in the show notes.
Get that buy-in. Like, if you don't have that buy-in going right into that first game, it can, I think, be a challenge for people who think their players are going to.
That's true.
Be awesome.
Right. And I think it's like you said for a keeper. I once played in a game where somebody literally at the beginning of the adventure rolled low enough to where the volcano that we were going to explore just would explode. And he was like, well, so I'm going to let you play for 3 more hours and actually get to enjoy the game, but technically you'd all be dead. It's something where I think it is that balance of kind of understanding, again, like you said, that death spiral, which I think is a really good way to put it, because again, you are dealing with things that are not normal in this world, and it really is, like you said, your character he's not going to be able to power through everything. They're not going to be able to go, I'm just going to muscle my way through it. Like, no, there's tentacles attacking you. You're not going to be able to just do that in some cases. speaking a little bit about new versus seasoned, who is this box set for? How do you think as a new or seasoned RPG players, look taking at both sides of it, who is this box kind of for?
What do you think?
I think both. That's kind of a cussing answer, not.
Not typically.
That's kind of a BS answer.
Yeah.
But we've talked about the reasons why I think it's easy for new GMs and players to get into. Seasons players, maintaining the atmosphere in a horror game is always going to be challenging. Mm-hmm. So I think the content that's in there, especially that Chris Spivey adventure, who wrote Harlem Abound, and is one of the best RPG authors out there right now. Mm-hmm. A seasoned GM is going to put a little bit of extra seasoning on that and just make it into something wonderful. So,
I gotta say, like, I got super lucky the first time that I ran this for a group because it was on a beach trip and we were all in the house and a thunderstorm came and lightning struck the ocean while we were there, and then the lights went out and everyone lost their minds for a little bit. And I'm just like, all right, I got you. So, atmosphere is where it's at.
Mm-hmm. So kind of round it off all at the end. Again, we always talk about based on the starter set. Would you try the full game? And I guess starting with Adam, going down the line, as a player and as a DM, based on the starter set, would you want to try this game?
Yeah, I mean, I think it gives you enough to. It actually gives you quite a bit of value in the box.
Was that $20, I believe?
Yeah, it was like 20. Set? Yeah,
25, $20.
I think the value is there, and for what you pay for it, it's like, okay, well, I mean, since I have this, why not keep going? It's not a big buy-in to grab a keeper rule book, and you're gonna have enough fun with this, the adventures in here that. I mean, you're going to want to keep going.
Okay. How about you, Rob?
I agree. Clearly, I did. I started, playing intro games at conventions and whatnot, and Friday night type stuff, and then went that way. But Chaosium does a really good job of making beautiful books that are well published, that are dense with great reading and good information, really interesting information. And so I've got a shelf full of Call of Cthulhu stuff that I've never run and probably never will because I felt like it was worth it to read the book.
Right.
And they're still fun to have and look at.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They have good, like the artwork in their books is pretty top notch. So
yeah, I completely agree. Yeah. From my aspect, as I've only been a player and not a keeper, I still think I would love to try both. I think the keeper aspect is a little bit more difficult, as you said. Because a lot of these adventures that you play in other RPGs, it's all about just, I hope you don't kill the characters. But in this, probably everyone's going to die. Or people are going to get really messed up. And so it's, like you said, controlling that death spiral and understanding of, like, the stakes are getting bigger and bigger. And, like, not everyone may survive it. But how are you going to keep that tension and make it to where they don't feel like they're just outright going to lose and not be able to do it? And I think that might be a little bit hard. But I still think, like, it is... like I said, I've not played enough Call of Cthulhu, but I think if I'm looking for something that's not in the fantasy realm of role-playing games, this is probably high on the list if you don't mind the horror. Yeah. Well, that's going to be it for our Call of Cthulhu starter set box review. We really appreciate y'all watching. And like we said, I think if you're looking to try something different, than your normal fantasy stuff, it is definitely worth the pickup. So... thanks again. Let us know in the comments how you guys like this one, if you played this one, or if you're interested in picking it up. Until we see you next time, y'all take care.